Hi guys, my name is Alex from the University of South Carolina. I met my stalker, Sven, the summer between graduating from high school and starting school that fall. I had a job at a restaurant near campus, and I had a break between lunch and dinner shifts. I always took at Starbucks. I brought a book with me. I wasn't looking to meet anybody or chat, but inevitably, there was at least one guy that interrupted my reading to chat and to flirt. And inevitably, I responded because I had this core, deep need to be nice and for people to think that I was nice. One such Friday afternoon, an older guy sat down. You can kind of picture like older, heavy-set, washed-up biker. He interrupted me, and I wanted to be nice, so I talked to him. And he wanted to talk about like my faith, and I thought that was really cool. So we talked until I went to work. And I was like, okay, well, that was an interesting experience. But then every week after that, for the last half of summer, when I got off of my shift at work and went to the Starbucks, he was there waiting for me. And he just was friendly. He wanted to chat. My mom was really concerned about this, and I told her it was fine, right? He was just a friendly guy. He just wanted to talk. He wasn't doing anything threatening. He hadn't hurt me. Now, secretly, I started sharing her concerns. Thinking about him and the situation, it made my stomach drop. And it made me nervous to talk to my mom about, but I didn't know how to reconcile that with the fact that nothing had happened to me. So I said it was fine. Now, as the summer progressed, it grew less fine. The questions he was asking were more intrusive. They made me more uncomfortable. A lot of them had to do with where the intersection was between my faith and my sexuality. And it just felt icky. But I told myself it was fine, because summer was ending, school was starting, I wouldn't be taking these breaks at Starbucks anymore, and whatever this weird relationship was, it would just be over. And that was true for about a year. I didn't think about Sven, I didn't see him until he showed up at the restaurant that I worked at. And he had asked to sit in my section, and I have this very visceral memory of seeing him there. He was with a woman. I was busy, but my stomach dropped, and my neck got all prickly, and just I was covered in this sense of unease. So I traded his table with another waitress, and she didn't really understand why I did that. And to be honest, I didn't really understand why I did that either. But that was the only response I could think of that made me feel less uncomfortable. A couple weeks later, he came back again. This time he was alone. He was sitting at the bar. I was late, and we weren't closed yet, but we were kind of headed that way, and there weren't any other customers in the restaurant. So I saw him, and again, stomach dropped. But I knew I couldn't avoid him, and I didn't want him to think I wasn't nice. He hadn't done anything wrong to me. So I said, okay, I'll just go say hi, and then I can pretend to be busy, and it'll be fine. He thanked me for coming over and saying hi, a little sardonically. He said that he had been hoping to see me. He'd been to the restaurant a couple of times trying to see me, and I hadn't been there. But he wanted to give me several presents to thank me for the big impact that I had made on his life. These were wrapped presents, and one of the three of them was this super nice, like leather-bound, zip-up portfolio book like you take to a professional interview. And inside of that was a manila envelope labeled "For Your Eyes Only." And inside of that was a 50-page-long manuscript, beautifully printed and bound, that declared his love for me. Now, this manuscript also contained a history of his sexual exploits, stories about his mom, pictures of him throughout his life. It accused me of being a judgmental hypocrite. It told me that God wanted us to be together, and that the only way I would be happy in life would be to be dominated by a man. The last page of this manuscript, Sven told me that he knew I was angry, and I was probably scared, but I would get accustomed to it. It would be okay. After all, the heroine of a book never likes the hero at the onset. You have to go through the adventure first. And he made sure to include a picture at the very bottom of the page of the place where we were going to get married. Reading those things is the scaredest I've ever been. It felt like the ground had been solid beneath me, and all of a sudden it opened up a hole under my feet, and I didn't know which way was up. I didn't know what to expect. My whole world kind of tilted on its axis, and it went from this place where I was relatively safe and I knew how things worked, to this dark and dangerous place where a stranger that you were nice to in a coffee shop turned out to be crazy and stalked you for a year without knowing. And I was so thankful. I had such a good experience with the University of South Carolina Police Department, and they did everything that they could to help me. But I was still scared. I didn't feel in control of what was happening, and I didn't know what was going to happen next. Part of my safety plan, I was not allowed to walk around town by myself anymore, except on certain parts of campus at certain times of day. Otherwise, I had to have a police or male escort. I missed a full week of classes because we were pretty sure he'd made a kidnapping threat against me, and I had to go home. And I quit my job because despite needing the money, I was so terrified. That was the place he kept coming to find me, and I didn't know what was going to happen if he came to find me again. Things had escalated so far beyond what I'd ever imagined. But in the midst of this year of crazy and scary developments, something really fortunate had happened too. I had a friend that had taken the SASS Defense PE course, and she loved it. And so she invited my roommate and I to try it out, and we loved it. So we signed up for the fall, not because we were worried about our safety, not because we were trying to make our moms happy, not because we just thought it was a good idea and it was on our checklist. We signed up because it was fun. And it was so much fun. And when I got this big reveal from Sven, I was about 2 weeks in to this 18-week-long course. And what was very fun turned into something that was very real, because I had relied on this niceness to keep me safe in the world, and that was not sufficient. And I needed to know that I could protect myself. And that's what SASS gave me. SASS kind of, that hole that had opened up underneath me, they kind of tamped it back down and made it solid, because they gave me skills and they gave me knowledge and they gave me the love that I needed to know that it wasn't my fault and that I could control what happened next. I could be in charge of my life, and my city could be mine again. It didn't have to be run by my fear of Sven. Now, I learned a lot of different things in SASS. Of course, I learned the physical self-defense moves that I needed to effectively protect myself if Sven showed up again. But I learned so many other so very important lessons. I was taught how to listen to my intuition. I was taught how to analyze situations and relationships for danger. I learned that I actually have very good intuition. All the sensations of my stomach dropping and my neck prickling, the persistent doubt and worry, and the fear of telling other people and explaining away another person's actions, all of those were my warning signs of danger. And I just didn't know how to interpret them at the time. SASS showed me by example that being a nice person was great and all, but it wasn't the safest version of me, and it wasn't the best version of me. Being savvy and assertive and confident, that enabled me not only to be safe in my world, but it enabled me to be kind and to be generous and to be compassionate and to really live into the kind of person that I wanted to be. But most valuably, SASS told me again and again and again and again that I was valuable, that I was worth defending, and that none of this was my fault. These lessons didn't just stop with my situation with Sven, they rippled throughout my life. I learned to set boundaries in a way I'd never learned before, and it radically changed my relationship with my family for the better. We spend every week, every move that we do, we say no. And we say it loudly, and we say it assertively. And what that translated to outside of class was this ability to tell people the kind of behavior that I would accept towards myself. It gave me the ability to, without fear, tell people what I could and would and couldn't and wouldn't do for them. And it gave me this power over my own life and where I was going. But it also it grabbed my heart. Not only had I had such an amazing experience, not only had it been part of my protection and healing, but I heard so many other stories like Jenna's, and it just grabbed my heart. And I watched, I came back the next semester, I TA'd, and I watched these girls that had experienced danger, who'd suffered violence, and I watched them walk in, and then their shoulders are down, and their eyes don't make contact, and their voice is held here. And I watched over the semester as they learned to stand tall, and to make eye contact, and to project their voice. And I loved it. Oh, and I wanted to be part of every aspect of that. So I'm now a SASS instructor. I'm now certified to teach the elite course that I took. I've taught students in South Carolina, I've taught students in Washington, D.C., and I just moved to Maryland, so working on that as well. But not only that, it changed my whole career path. I went from pre-med, which admittedly would not have worked out anyway, which is not the lifestyle for me. But I'm now in the process of pursuing my master's degree to be a professional counselor, to work with women who suffered relationship and sexual violence, because SASS so showed me how valuable and beautiful that healing process is and how necessary it is for our culture and for our society. And I would not have found that Even with my experiences, I would not have found that passion and that path without SASS. I was a double major in college. Okay. I took a lot of different classes. I studied abroad for a semester. I participated in all sorts of student organizations. I made a lot of great friends, and I even fell in love. But the defining experience of my college career remains my involvement with SASS. No other class that I took or event that I participated in or group of people I met so radically boosted my skills and my knowledge and my confidence, and none of those so completely changed my worldview for the better. We know that you guys are here because it's your goal to lift up the next generation of young people, to reach for their dreams, to achieve success in the world, and to be able to give something back at the end of the day. And we're here to tell you that SASS lives and breathes into every aspect of that in ways you can't even imagine. You may never know the way an opportunity to take one of these courses will affect the women in your universities and colleges. You may never know the way it changes and saves their lives, but we promise you that it happens again and again, every single class, every single semester. And we really hope that you see that today, and thank you for listening to my story. We hope that you feel and pick up what's important here and bring it back so that your women can be just as empowered. Thank you.